Now, will we have the recording? Maybe we can play, I can play it back.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
I'll send that to you. This is Roshunda Buchanan with 2Unique Magazine, live with Miss Terrell Dinkins. I'm going to give you a short bio. We're here with 2Unique Magazine, highlighting celebrities and leaders that give back to the community. Miss Terrell Dinkins is a financial advisor, wealth empowerment speaker, and author. As an advisor, she has a tremendous passion for circulating intelligent financial strategies that help individuals, families, and small business owners reach their professional and financial goals. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So we're going to ask you a few questions so that we can get a few tips about how to pretty much leverage, especially the African American community, towards wealth. Okay, so tell us about your vision, building wealth one bucket at a time.
Well, thank you. You know, here's the thing. I think people underestimate their power. They underestimate their worth and what they have. And so my vision is to really educate people on looking at the person in the mirror, looking at your finances on paper and figuring out how you can take just a little and take baby steps and start building wealth one bucket at a time, which is the title of my first book. And it does take a little bit. People don't realize that you can make money in your sleep. And that's another thing, is I want more people to create wealth in their sleep. If you look at the United States, most people are creating wealth through the stock market or real estate. And we need more people to feel comfortable stepping putting their toe in the waters of, either wealth, which can be generationally passed down, or through stocks and investing. So I really would like to open the doors and make people feel more comfortable taking those steps towards wealth, because you really can make money in your sleep when you have your money invested.
Yes, that is so amazing. And that was actually my next question. I wanted to talk about investments and what approaches should we think about when thinking about investments, because, looking at the compound interest in retirement and stating that you can become a millionaire, but it takes you 40 years maybe to become a millionaire in that aspect. So how can we get potentially to those dollars quickly?
Well, here's the thing. And I'm an investor and not a trader, and there's a difference. So investing is a long process, which means that you're consistently and strategically putting money away every single month, and then you do compound. So there's that magical rule of 72, which means that you take the number 72 and you divide it into a particular rate of return, and that will determine how long it will take you to double your dollar. So it won't take everyone 40 years to become a millionaire. It depends on how much money you're putting away, when you start putting it away, because time is on your side. And so it's to our benefit to start investing when you're young, putting money away when you're early, when you're coming out of college, or even if somebody has passed some things down to you through generational wealth transfer. But it won't always take everyone 40 years to become a millionaire. So you just have to start early. And what I mean by that is, 40 years from birth, but you can become a millionaire by being consistent and sitting down and calculating. And you can actually look up some time value of money calculations and determine, if I put XYZ away each month and I can get a 7 or 8% rate of return, then how long will I take to become a millionaire? So it's not always 40 years for everybody.
Yes, ma'am. I got it. Awesome advice. So, what are some maybe a couple of wealth building strategies that we should consider? You're thinking about financial prosperity. Are there any strategies that we should maybe think about?
You know what? Yeah, I think that, and this is where my first book, One Bucket at a Time, comes. I think we need to create multiple buckets throughout our lifetime, and each of those buckets will represent different aspects or times in our life. So we some strategies is you want to make sure that you have an emergency fund bucket or a cash bucket, so that if we're in a situation where we need to have put our hands on some ready cash, we have that. Or having 3 to 6 months of liquid cash on hand in the event that we have an emergency if our car breaks down. And then a lot of us will put money in a long-term bucket. Uh, that long-term bucket is a 401k plan at our jobs. So making sure you're putting the money away and taking advantage of the opportunities that some employers offer, like a 401k plan where they're matching that money. And if they do match, you want to make sure that you're putting in the maximum amount so that you can meet the company's match. So that's money that you're putting away for the long term for your retirement. That's going to grow, compound, and grow deferred. The taxes are going to be deferred, and you don't have to worry about taking the taxes out of it until you retire. Now, that middle bucket, and I think everyone, once they've created their retirement bucket and they're taking advantage of all of the matching that their company will offer, then put money away in another investment bucket. And that bucket will allow you to take it out if you need it. Keep it in there for a year and a day so that you take advantage of long-term capital gains versus short-term capital gains. But put money in a middle investment bucket that's growing beyond a savings account. And I think a lot of people are afraid of putting money in something outside of the checking and the savings. But that middle investment bucket is important too. And I highlight the importance of all four buckets in my first book that I wrote.
That is so awesome. Great information. You flowing right into the questions that I wanted to ask. So that is wonderful. What do you think is holding people back? Are there some other things that you think that's holding people back from reaching those financial goals?
Well, two things. Fear. People are afraid of doing things outside of their norm, and lack of knowledge. People don't know, and they don't know the questions to ask. They don't know who to ask. So fear and lack of knowledge has held us back. And then a lot of it is just procrastination,
Yes.
because I think, outlets like yourself, outlets like I have, social media. I wrote books, and I just came out with my second book. But I wrote books specifically so that it would make it easy for the average person to spend $15 on a book and read the information, things that they can do themselves. Sometimes people just don't want to, they're lazy. They don't want to take out the time to educate themselves. So fear, lack of knowledge, and I guess our procrastination of not wanting to take the time to learn, because I do feel like knowledge is power. When I was a young girl, I always read. I always knew that I worked in the banking industry, and I saw wealthy people coming into the banks. And I was curious, what are they doing to create wealth? So I started reading. I think knowledge is important. So I didn't put off, and I wasn't lazy when it came to figuring out how I could build wealth. So fear, procrastination, and lack of knowledge is getting in our way of wealth building.
That is so awesome. And that's what I was going to ask as well, as far as when you realized. um, I wanted to see were there any financial planning that you did that was wrong that gave you an epiphany to say, hey, let me change directions here? And how did you do that?
Oh, that is an excellent question, Rashonda. Yeah. So when I was younger, in my 20s, um, I used to listen to this girl who, but again, I did it wrong, but it was a great lesson learned. She would always tell me about these different stocks, and without me doing any research, I just kind of followed her lead, and I lost money. And also I wasn't ready to do the individual stocks. I didn't have enough doing the individual stocks. So I listened to her. I didn't do my research on the companies to find out if they were a good fit for me, and I lost money. So I vowed, I started doing more research instead of just listening. Yeah, thank you for sharing the information, but let me do a little bit of research about the company that you're talking about, and find out if it's a good for me. So that's the lesson learned, making sure that you do your homework.
That is so awesome, wonderful. And, in our communities, in our culture, we hear so many phrases, get that bag, get the money. And, but after you get the bag or the money, my goal is, what do you do with that? I'm about applying the principles that seed time and harvest, sowing the seed where you reap what you sow, giving back to your communities. And a lot of people don't know. And to be honest with you, we're going to talk about our culture a little bit, okay?
Okay,
We
let's talk.
don't,
Let's
yes,
go.
we don't go beyond tithes and offerings. And when it comes to the church platform, we think that once we pay our tithes and offerings in the church, we've done our part.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. What do I believe we have to go beyond, those four walls, and, because giving back is so much more than, just money. I can invest in you by mentoring you. That's sowing a seed. Um, you know, um, Helping homeless, or other things, just going beyond that reach.
I used to attend a church, and one of the affirmations that was said was, my time, my talent, and my tenth belongs to thee. So there are a lot of people who may not have a tenth to give, but they have time and they have talent. And so you can go beyond that. You can go beyond giving money to the church. You can volunteer. One of the goals that I want to do, and this is something that I am going to do, is that I want to give a scholarship. I want to create a scholarship to an HBCU. I did not attend an HBCU, but my husband attended an HBCU and my children will attend an HBCU. So I want to give back and create a scholarship for girls who may be interested in attend or getting into the finance field, because I was a finance major, and a lot of us walk away and we're afraid of the numbers and we don't want to major in finance. So that's one of my goals, is that I want to create a scholarship. It'll probably be more me giving. Right now I give, but I really do want to create a scholarship. But we can give our talent. One of my talents was, I know about this, and I said, what's the easiest way for me to reach the masses, for people who, and actually all over the world, and that is by me writing what I know in a book. That's not going to, granted, yeah, it does have a cost to it, it's $15, but I wrote what I know in a book so that there was a way for me to reach the masses. Volunteering, and we don't do a lot of that. We just don't. And giving, like I said, scholarships, creating scholarships. We need to see more people doing that. And we're seeing a lot now. The pitching and helping people, crowdfunding for small business owners, supporting small business owners in our communities. We don't do enough of that, and we should be doing more of that. One of the things I like doing on Sundays is, I like to eat. The girl has to eat.
Yes.
I like to eat. Is that I try to go out on the weekends and find a minority-owned restaurant
Okay.
and eat at that restaurant. And I tell people about it. You should check it out. So there are a lot of things that we can do beyond just giving our tithes at church.
That is so awesome. Yes, great advice. And you spoke a little bit about this, and this will be our last question, and we'll get to see if you have anything that you want the viewers to know about you. For those who can't afford a financial advisor, and let's say they're at a critical point, in their life, because there's so many barriers that takes place with an individual. What are some tips that you would give them to kind of leverage themselves?
First of all, there are a lot of us in this industry that do different things. So you have a financial advisor, and I manage money. And there are people that may not be at a point where they need somebody to manage their money because they don't have enough money. But there are people that are financial coaches that are out there. And you also have places like Operation Hope that have literature just on the basics of planning. But here's the thing, Roshunda, you got to put in some work. You got to put in some work on your own. There are so many books on planning and investing and budgeting. An endless amount. You got to be willing to put in the work, because if you do go to someone and you don't have money, they're going to, people, you can't work a regular job and your employer says, I want you to come in and put in 40 hours, but I want you to do it for free. Because I think what happens a lot of times with self-employed people is a lot of people want you to do things on the low for free.
Yes. Oh my
They
God.
want you to do so much for free, and we make a living based on what we know. So even for a person who is starting out, they have to be willing to pay a price for something. And that price could be that you hire someone to help you, and you may not have the funds to do that, or you take some of your time to help yourself by reading. So you got to pay a price, and that price is going to be either your time, where you're putting in the time to learn, or you pay someone else to do it. And we just have to make sure that we understand that nothing is free. A professional's time is not going to be free, and you taking out time to learn on your own won't be free, because you'll be taken away from something else.
Yes. And as you were talking, I was thinking about one more question to ask. Let's kind of hit those individuals that are materialistic, meaning that, I may make a nice salary, but if I'm spending $500 on a bag or a pair of shoes that really won't come back to me, because once you spend $500 on that purse, what can you do with that?
So many of us feel like, girl, I deserve. I have had so many clients that come to my office, and when we close the doors to the conference room, they come in with issues. But then you look at that handbag over there. Not that you're judging, because you don't know how the person's got the handbag, but we will justify, I deserve this. I deserve that. I work so hard. But you also deserve to build and create a gift for your future self.
Yes.
Create and start building a gift for your future self. But so many of us, we do get wrapped up into feeling like we deserve it, that we will drop a grip on a handbag or a pair of tennis shoes. I always, whatever I've ever purchased, and it could be something that is a big ticket item, I always made sure that I had the cash in the bank. to buy it, including my cars. Every car that I've ever purchased, because I was always had this fear that, if I lost my job, could I pay for this car? So I always had the cash in the bank to pay for the car. That if anything happens, could I literally write a check and pay this? And even when I started out, because I've always been a saver, and I know everyone's not like this, but I was always a saver from kindergarten. I was one of that little kid who saved the little pennies. I always saved, and I always had the cash to pay for, even if I financed it, that if I lost my job or if anything happened, I could write a check and pay it off.
That is awesome.
So that was just something that I wanted to do for myself, because I felt comfortable knowing that if I was in a bind, I would be okay.
Yes. And see, I have an identical twin sister. So when growing up, she was the saver. I didn't realize it. And I had a hole in my pocket. So I was spending all of my money, and I looked up and she was like,
So didn't you?
huh?
You probably look fabulous.
Yeah, I did. And, so I'm looking at her like, and I'm buying her things, and I'm like, don't you want this? And she's like, don't buy me anything else. So she had $1,000 in her pocket, and I was like, I don't even have $100. Like, what's going on? So that was my little reality check. So let's talk about, and this will be the last question, I promise, but those married couples, you might have one that's the saver and one that's that likes to spend money, and how that can affect the household, or how you can, or some tips to help make that better.
Here, so, and I'm in a household like that. I'm the saver. My husband, he's not a big spender, but he shops more than I do. Because my kids say that I'm low maintenance, and I am pretty. Look, I don't have my nails done. I am pretty low maintenance. I want to do something that's real fast. I'm pretty low maintenance. But a household has to, couples have to figure out what works for their household. If you have someone who is a big spender, then for big ticket items, then maybe that spender needs to give the money to the saver. And then when it comes to, splitting the finances in the household, there are a lot of different methods out there. And I think when people get married, they got to figure out which one's going to work. You can do a percentage method where you have one couple, depending on how much money they may take a higher percentage of the household bills compared to the other person. Some couples do things 50-50, where they split the household bills, and they may create a household account, and each of them will put money in that household account. And then some couples don't have joint accounts. My husband and I, we don't have any joint accounts, but we've never had an argument about money. I've been married over 20 years, and we don't argue about money, but we also don't have joint accounts. We go through and decide who's going to pay what, and that has worked out for us. So I think it's important that you go through some different trials. I've had couples who said that, we tried the joint account, and I had my spouse always went in the account and took the money out. So you realize that method is not going to work for a household, because money is one of the big reasons why people end up in a divorce. So what you'll have to do is keep an open mind and figure out what's going to work for the couple, because things work differently for different couples.
Awesome. I have enjoyed speaking with you. If you could let us know some things that are on the horizon for you that you want the viewers to know.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I would love everyone to check out my brand new book. It is, the book has gotten excellent reviews from Publishers Weekly's Book Life, Kirkus Reviews, and readers. My new book is called Secrets of the 800 Club: How to Raise Your Credit Score, Maintain Good Credit, and Live the Life of Unicorns. The book is available on one of my websites, onebucketnation.com, and it's also available at barnesandnoble.com and Amazon. It's a great book. our poor credit is another contributing factor to the wealth gap that we have. And so with this new book, my goal was to try to change the mindset, hopefully have people to raise their credit score and do another, help us close the wealth gap that we have, particularly in our community. And poor credit is one of those contributing factors. So I'm doing some talk show, doing some, interviews with everyone, but really trying to get the message out about my new book and make sure that people can pick up that book. People can also follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at One Bucket Nation. And then my financial planning website is OBN Wealth Advisors. If people are looking for a planner, they can go to OBN and Wealth Advisors and shoot me an email.
Awesome. Congratulations to you. It was such a pleasure having this interview. And I appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
awesome. Well, you have a great and blessed day. And thank you again.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.